Hi, I'm Jess Roessler, and I am the American Studies Prep English teacher here to talk to you about American Studies Prep. I'm going to start you off the same way I do with the students, which is with a slideshow. They usually enter the room with me, Mrs. Setsky, or the both of us. And there's an agenda waiting there for them to let them know what we'll be doing today, as well as some learning targets to tell them why we're doing that. So I did the same for you this evening. We just want to make sure that you're clear on what this course is about, how your student will be assessed, what the grades that you're seeing on Infinite Campus mean, what you should be seeing your students do each day and looking at, and just kind of give you an introduction to us who will be working with your students all year. In terms of the course goals, these are laid out in the official syllabus that's available online, but I've kind of boiled it down for you on these two slides. We expect kids to read and annotate critically and analytically, to understand the explicit details and meanings of a text, being able to summarize them, but also connect textual evidence to the implicit ideas and arguments or purpose of the writing. We'll be doing this with various genres this year, from memoir to fiction. It's focused on American literature, to poetry, to plays, to articles. So they'll get just about every genre to do that with. What students are asked to write, they are asked to write strong thesis statements to support that with textual evidence, to analyze and explain their textual evidence. They look for rhetorical purpose. We do a good deal of work on speeches and speech writing. So they'll be studying speeches for its rhetorical strategies, as well as emulating some and creating their own. And by the end of the year, we certainly want them to have that command of language working in their favor with correct and varied sentence structure and diction. Speaking and listening, we do every day informally. Students are asked to have a notebook with them so that they can take notes on the important details of our conversations. And in terms of speaking, they're asked to speak informally during small and large group discussions. They are also asked to present. In fact, they've done a good deal of presenting already this year, and they're going to be asked to do more. Research, they do all the time. They've already done a research project that they'll be presenting for us on immigration. They look at a particular group and when they immigrated to the United States, and they've done some research as to why they came here, those push and pull factors, how they were received, challenges to assimilation. And so with every unit just about, there's some bigger, small, formal or informal research component. Every day, kids go to the Canvas page and they see open door or closed door. Open door means that they have the two 75-minute periods back to back with Mrs. Setsky, the history teacher, and myself, so that we can both hold a meeting with the larger group and talk about how the history is connecting to the English. A lot of the times we do links projects. These are projects that count for both history and English and link the content in history to the content in English. Most Mondays we are open door because those are 35-minute periods, and it allows us more time to connect with the kids, let them talk about their weekends, review things from the previous week, set up the week ahead, and then get started on the work for the week. Wednesdays and Fridays are often closed door, but students still have to check for that. When we have presentations, for example, or films that we're studying, we like to do open door so that we have more time altogether. When we have the 75 minutes, that means that they're going to their assigned class for each period and getting just history and then English or vice versa. Regardless, the structure of the period is pretty much the same. They start with a chat. The chat gets them warmed up for the day. As we take attendance, the students participate in the chat, talking about something that gets them talking and gets us knowing a little bit more about them, or gets them thinking about the content ahead, asking them to review something they learned the day before and share it out with the group, or to prepare for the content ahead and get a discussion started. We then do a large group mini lesson or discussion. They have breakout groups. In those small groups, they might have discussions, do readings, do revisions and editing, look at models. Then we come back to the larger group. There's almost always time for homework as well, in which case you will see your students on Zoom in independent workrooms. They are there alone. It might be quiet. You won't maybe see me or anyone else in front of the screen, but they're there so that number one, they can ask me questions and get help if they need it. And number two, I can pop in and do conferencing with them, ask to see their work, give them feedback on things, whether it's on Canvas or a Google Doc. So typically we do carve out time so that they can work in class and get their work done well. That means that what you should be seeing and hearing at home is that they are going on Canvas every day. They are then going from Canvas with anything that they need from that link prepared for class. They get on their Zoom, they have their notebook in front of them so that they can write down any important details and notes, and then you should be hearing them participate. We ask that they keep their cameras on if at all possible. I am certainly understanding of the myriad reasons they might be choosing to turn their camera off or needing to turn their camera off, but it has been so nice to get to know kids who do leave it on. It really is much more of a connection with them. So I ask that they share with me if there is a reason that I need to know about as to why they can't have their camera on. A little bit about me. This is my 17th year at LT, although I feel like I've been here forever because I'm a graduate of LT. So is my husband, so were my parents and my grandparents and my siblings, many cousins, all my in-laws, and my daughter will be fourth generation. So I tell the students that I bleed gold and blue, and I tell parents and other members of this community that I really do think LT is an amazing place. It's not without its flaws, no place is, but I wouldn't choose to live in this community and send my daughter as a fourth generation student to LT unless I thought that it was a great place where there are people making the best decisions that they can for the students and providing the best opportunities for them. I don't know many other schools that have award-winning creative writing publications, yearbooks, newspaper, radio station, TV station, an aviation program, an amazing auto program, classes such as cabinetry and furniture making and scuba. The experiences that LT can provide for students are amazing. And I think that the people working here have the best interests of students in mind as they're constantly looking to improve. I attended Illinois State University for my undergrad and got degrees in English education, French education, and endorsements in social science and middle school. I got my master's degree at Benedictine in administration. I'm a runner. I am always running. I run every single day. And so you might see me about the neighborhood since I do live locally. I did my first marathon with my good friend last year who needed somebody to run with her because she was injured and she was worried about doing it on her own. And so while I didn't really train because I run every day, I kind of just jumped in there with her and we finished it together and it was great. And I think I got that marathon bug that people talk about. So if or when we are able to run marathons again, I definitely would want to do another. Otherwise, my sweet spot is really 10Ks and half marathons. The picture on the left is in Colorado. My brother lives there and we love to go out there to visit. We're big fans of stand-up paddleboarding and hiking. The picture on the bottom there is my family at Starved Rock this summer. My daughter, Emmy, her name is Emerson, but she goes by Emmy. She is 10 and attends Cassett School. And my husband is a dean at University of Illinois at Chicago. So there's a good deal of education talk in our household. The other picture is me in my TAB hoodie because I'm an assistant for TAB and I'm also an assistant girls cross country coach. I tell students that the rule in this classroom is that they have no idea the hard battle that everybody else is fighting or has fought and still carries with them on some level. In this class, we're going to be talking about sensitive issues, not because we're bringing up sensitive or controversial issues, but because what we're reading is a trigger for them to start thinking about what they believe. What they stand for, what they think, what they've experienced, what they feel. And students need to feel that this is a safe place where they are all accepted and respected and have dignity. And so that is why that's my number one rule. And while I respect any belief that they might have, if there's a belief that could be offensive to or hurtful toward any student in my classroom, I ask them to leave it at that figurative or virtual door. I do the same. I think that it's important that people be able to live and be and speak who they are in our classroom and learn to do so. And so we do that with respect for one another. So what will we study this year? I'm not going to read every slide here, but I will leave it up for a moment so that you can see it and get a sense of all the many units and things that we try to get through in 1 year in American Studies. Again, this course combines history and English, so all of these units cover that focus in both of those classes. So for example, in Unit 1 with immigration, history is teaching the waves of immigration, for example, and those push and pull factors. In English, we are focusing on research skills so that they can find out information on a particular immigrant group and actually present it. We're working on presentation skills to the rest of the group so that we learn more. Unit 2 will be starting very shortly on America's democracy. We're going to be looking at, in English, rhetoric, and in history, they're going to look at the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution. In Unit 3, those challenges to democracy, such as slavery, for example, and slavery's legacy in the United States. Expansion and its idea and how it relates to America as an idea and its ideals would be in Unit 4. We then move on to industrialization and urbanization, looking at Chicago in particular, and historical nonfiction such as The Jungle. Modernism comes next. We study the 1920s, the idea of the American dream and why that was a time that was so important as we look at The Great Gatsby. Unit 7 would be the Great Depression in the 1930s. We look at how radio played an essential role at that time in English, and we look at social, political, and economic needs of people during the Great Depression. Again, we study speeches and rhetoric there as well. We then have the Civil Rights Unit, which is so important. Again, there are many speeches and movements for them to study, as well as some current events that we bring in to tie to those civil rights events. And then, of course, war is always important to study as well. We look at why America's entered war, the semantics of war, the effect of war on us as a nation, among other things. The grades for this course are a little bit different. Some assignments are only for history, some assignments are only for English, and then there are links assignments. Those will count in both classes. They might be papers, quizzes, tests. These are the things that make up their grade. Homework and classwork is practice, so it is entered as formative grades on Infinite Campus, but it does not hurt or help their grade. It is meant for feedback. It's meant to give you a sense of what they're doing in class or what they're not doing if that's the case, and those are meant to prepare them for those summative experiences, which do count towards their grade. Those are the things that are listed there, like quizzes, tests. Although there won't be that many of those, it's more like essays, responses, projects this year. Canvas is very important for students to check for feedback, comments, practice. That's also where they submit all of their assignments. They can look at all of the models. So if your student is ever at all confused as to what to do or where to find it, Canvas is the place to go. If you see an M on Infinite Campus, it means that it's missing. If this is a formative assignment, the student can reach out and ask if they can resubmit it, but it doesn't hurt or help their grade. And if we've already done the summative assignment, I will say no, you shouldn't be looking to turn in those formative pieces, but to keep up with what we're doing at the present, because the previous formative pieces informed that summative pieces. So once that's done, going back and doing other formative pieces is redundant, and they should focus on the summative piece at that point. How they're graded, once again, formative grades don't count. They're for practice, they're for feedback, but that is not busy work. They absolutely do nothing for busy work in our class. It is always leading up to a bigger project, essay, paper, assessment. The summative pieces are often based on formative pieces. Sometimes they're rewrites or revisions. Sometimes they're smaller pieces that come together and make up that summative piece. So they're very important to keep up with. Summative grades are 100% of the students' grades. English, history, and links grades can be either one. They will have formative practice for history or for English and for links, and same with summative. Infinite Campus is where you're going to see grades. It's basically telling you if they're doing the work, if they're missing the work, and how they're doing on the work. But like I said, Canvas is probably the most important spot. And I'm going to just show you the American Studies Prep Canvas page for me, just because I know that parents don't have their own login. This is where students start every day. Their Zoom is up here. So for example, here, I also included, I'm a little bit redundant just in case, but it tells them if we are closed door, well, then my period 5 has to go to the period 5 link and my period 6 has to go to period 6. However, on open door days, like down here, there's the link to the open door Zoom, which can also be found at the top of the page. They're also told every day what the learning targets are, what activities we'll be doing, and any homework that they need to do, as well as any links that they might need to get the work done. Assignments are super important. We can't collect things by paper at this point, and so all assignments are submitted through Canvas. We sometimes use the discussions so that students can online discuss things together or practice. And modules is where they're going to find any important links to resources that they might need, as well as to the PowerPoints that they may need to revisit or that they missed. So that is listed by date, and they can always go through, sorry, not those PowerPoints, the slides, the Google Slides. At the end of the day, this year looks a lot different because we're virtual. What you've entered is basically what kids enter every day, this Zoom classroom. And so it looks different. But I'm reminded of that adage that the more things change, the more they stay the same. And the kids that are in this classroom are the same kids that they've always been. They're curious, they want to connect, they are goofy, they are thoughtful, and they are kind. They have questions. They like to talk about themselves. I get so excited when kids show me what's going on in the room around them, or show off some art, or show something else that they're excited about, or share a weekend story. These are the same kids. Unfortunately, I can't see them face to face, but I'm so happy that they're willing to participate and share themselves virtually. The work that they're doing, the skills that they're working on, those two are the same and just as essential as ever, especially as we live through this unprecedented time. I think that American Studies in particular is really important because English is giving them the language and the analytical skills to understand what is going on in history, to understand the semantics of it, the rhetoric of it, the implicit ideas that might be underlying a lot of the things that we are experiencing, hearing about, reading about. And lastly, in talking to my husband, again, he works at University of Illinois at Chicago, we've said that any kid who decides that he or she might want to pursue college or the university after high school will probably be better prepared than other generations because they've learned that time management, because they didn't have that experience this year of being told when to move by a bell, to show up to class every single day and get kind of herded off from classroom to classroom. Instead, it mirrors much more that college or university experience that meets only a couple of times a week, that asks them to have those executive functioning and time management skills, that requires them to participate in an online component. And so in that way, while challenging, I'm really proud of the way the kids have already responded to it, adapted to it, been patient with any issues with it. And I think that it's going to prepare them in the long run much more than other kids have gotten. So if there's anything I've missed, any concerns that you have, any questions about the course, please feel free to email. But thank you so much for taking the time to watch this.